Hi Year 6, this is your English lesson for Tuesday the 12th of January. Yesterday we started to read Point Blank, which is going to be your class reader. We read the beginning of chapter 1 and I asked you to think about how an author builds character. So Anthony Horowitz starts to tell us about a character called Michael J. Roscoe, and he starts to tell us how Michael J. Roscoe was such a careful man. This is somebody very worried about their safety. So I asked you to look for evidence of how the author builds up Michael J. Roscoe's character and tells us how he was such a careful man. So what I've done is I've got the beginning of chapter 1, and if we go through together, we can see whether or not you found all the different pieces of evidence. So, Michael J. Roscoe was a careful man. The car that drove him to work at 7:15 each morning, so he does everything at the same time every day, was a custom-made, so this car has been made just for him, Mercedes with reinforced steel doors. So that means that nothing can get through the doors. It's a very, very safe car, but he's also got bulletproof windows. This is someone who needs to be incredibly careful. His driver is a retired FBI agent. So that's someone who's been trained to keep people safe. And he carried a Beretta subcompact semi-automatic pistol, and he knew how to use it. So his driver is armed. This is somebody that needs to be very, very careful. There were just 5 steps from the point where the car stopped to the entrance of Roscoe Tower on New York's 5th Avenue. But closed-circuit television cameras followed him every inch of the way. So the fact that he's being filmed all the time by cameras to make sure nothing's happening to him. There's only 5 steps to get to his building from the car, and these are filming him every inch of the way. Once the automatic doors had slid shut behind him, a uniformed receptionist, also armed. So even his receptionist needs to be armed. This is someone who really needs to stay safe. Watched as he crossed the foyer and entered his own private lift. So no one else uses this lift. This is a lift just for him. Again, showing you how careful this person needs to be. The lift had white marble walls, a blue carpet, a silver handrail and no buttons. Roscoe pressed his hand against a small glass panel. So there's no buttons, but instead he uses a sensor which reads his fingerprints. Again, this is somebody that needs to be very careful. No one else can use this lift. The sensor verified them and activated the lift. The doors slid shut and the lift rose to the 16th floor without stopping. The lift doesn't stop anywhere else. It just takes him straight up to his office. Nobody else ever used it. Nor did it ever stop at any of the other floors in the building. While it was travelling up, the receptionist was on the telephone letting Mr. Roscoe's staff know that he was on his way. So everyone knows where he is at all times. These people are really looking after him. He's being very, very careful. Everyone who worked in Roscoe's private office had been hand-picked and thoroughly vetted. I think I'm going to highlight everyone. Every single member of staff, everyone who worked in his private office had been hand-picked and thoroughly vetted. This means they'd been checked, completely checked, to make sure that they were safe and they were of no danger to him. And it was impossible to see Michael J. Roscoe without an appointment, and getting an appointment could take 3 months. So they had to know exactly who is meeting up with him. Nobody can meet up with him or just turn up. They need to have an appointment. When you're rich, you have to be careful. So it's telling us yet again how careful Michael J. Roscoe has to be. There are cranks, kidnappers, terrorists, the desperate, the dispossessed. Michael J. Roscoe was the chairman of Roscoe Electronics and the 9th or 10th richest man in the world. He was very careful indeed. It's telling us yet again, repetition. Ever since his face had appeared on the front cover of Time magazine, the electronics king, he had realised that he had become a visible target. So when he was in public, he walked quickly with his head bent. The glasses that he wore had been chosen to hide as much as possible of his round, handsome face. So he's almost trying to disguise himself when he walks around. His suits were expensive. Well, we know he's rich, but anonymous. So he's trying everything he can not to draw attention to himself. doesn't want to be noticed for any reason. If he went to the theatre or to dinner, he always arrived at the last minute. He's making sure people can't see him, and he prefers not to hang around. There were dozens of different security systems in his life, and although they had once annoyed him, he had allowed them to become routine. He has plenty of these security systems, making sure that he stays safe. Just have a little look, Year 6, and see if you found all those pieces of evidence. Then have a go at reading the rest of the chapter and see what else you can find out about the character of Michael J. Roscoe. This is going to be our class reader, so I've sent you the link to listen to it as an audio book, or if you can get hold of a book to read yourself. And I'm going to be asking you to read a chapter a week if you can, and have a think about how Anthony Horowitz builds the characters. Well done, Year 6.